There are some major leaks surrounding WWE Royal Rumble. There's two of them specifically that we're going to talk about in this video. And then we're also going to talk about a WWE star who turned down AEW. So much to talk about. Guys, I'm super excited about this one right here. We have talked about Hell in a Cell for Royal Rumble, but we didn't exactly know who it was going to be. And this was one of the first plans that were leaked. We'll talk about another one in just a little bit. But essentially, Brood Edge versus Demon Balor at Royal Rumble is expected to take place in a Hell in a Cell match at the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. And this is exciting because the Royal Rumble pay-per-view is one of the big four. It appears that Triple H is trying to do a lot of big things for it. And as you guys will tell in this video, there is no shortage of surprises. Obviously, Triple H is trying to be creative here. I want a fantasy book for a second. The Judgment Day needs to end after WrestleMania. I would have Finn Balor completely destroy Edge as the Demon Balor. Like, after what happened with him and Roman Reigns and the Demon character, it's time to literally step it up, completely shock everybody, have Demon Balor go over Edge relatively quickly. Yes, it does make Edge look a little bit weak, but there's ways to do this. Logically booking, okay? There's ways to be logical here. Then what you would do is at WrestleMania, you would have Edge and Beth Phoenix maybe versus Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest, and they can go over them and eliminate the Judgment Day storyline. At the end of the day, I like the Judgment Day and what they've been doing, but I think the idea is still, you got to get Finn Balor back on track. You got to get Demon Balor back on track. This would be a way to do so. You can have Edge versus Damian Priest with Beth Phoenix in Edge's corner, helps Edge cheat and win. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do. Rhea Ripley doesn't even have to be involved. It doesn't have to be a mixed tag team match, but you definitely want to do something where Edge eventually goes over at WrestleMania. And maybe it's Edge versus Dominic Mysterio. You know what I mean? There's a lot of possibilities there. Super interesting, super intriguing stuff. But I'm glad that this match is going to bring back the Brood Edge, Demon Balor, and then obviously the Hell in a Cell portion is really sick. Guys, we've talked about this before, and this is actually really intriguing. WWE's Pitch Black match. It's actually an advertisement for Mountain Dew. And this is where things get a little bit interesting because the belief is that the match is for Bray Wyatt and LA Knight. And we've talked about this actually a couple times, but then there was no confirmation on this. A lot of people weren't actually sure if the Pitch Black match was actually going to be something that ends up happening. But now it actually appears that it could very well be happening. Why? Because it's being advertised. It's being advertised with the Mountain Dew logo, which, if you guys remember the last pay-per-view with Austin Theory came out with a Beyblade Titantron. So this is WWE essentially using a new match type as a way to do an advertisement for a company. And realistically, I don't know if this makes a lot of sense as a match type that is going to stick around forever. I mean, it technically can. It doesn't need the Mountain Dew logo on it. But when you look at this and you see the branding of it, obviously it has the Mountain Dew logo, the Pitch Black match, whatever it may be. The Pitch Black match is going to be a really intriguing thing because you're going to put LA Knight in the ring with Bray Wyatt. And then obviously you have to wonder if this is the time where, in order to justify LA Knight losing, this is maybe where the Wyatt 6 debut. And you're going to see these random characters kind of pop up in the crowd in a Pitch Black match. That's the ideal thing that I could think of because I made a video. It was a YouTube short. It was a clip that was cut down into a YouTube short, and I basically said, look, like LA Knight and Bray Wyatt is a really, really good feud. These guys are going to be really, really good together, but both guys can't afford to lose as their first feud within these characters. I still believe that. I don't care how many fickle fans tell me I'm wrong, but that's what I believe. I believe that none of these guys could really take the loss here. With that being said, if there is a way to book it in a way that makes sense, I would have Wyatt 6 take out Eli Drake, LA Knight. That's the solution there. But the Pitch Black match should ultimately end up with the Wyatt 6 or whatever the family is or whatever the group is, whatever the faction is. It should ultimately allow everybody to debut, come into the scene, and attack LA Knight. And honestly, I think it's just going to scare the living crap out of this guy where he never wants to deal with it again. He moves on to feud with other people. I don't know. But it's a very, very interesting situation for WWE. And the fact that they're using this as a way to advertise Mountain Dew tells me that there's probably a lot of financial benefits to it. So it should definitely be interesting. I want to turn our attention to a very interesting quote from a very interesting podcast. Kurt Angle on if he will ever work for AEW. Honestly, I talked to Tony a couple times. I dabbled and, threw some numbers at him that were astronomical just to see if he would bite. But Tony's a good guy. He was a big fan of mine. I was the one he told me that he wanted in his company because he thought I was one of his favorite wrestlers. I guess he was a huge wrestling fan growing up. I was considering it, but now I have such a solid relationship with the WWE. I have a nostalgia contract with them. I do a lot of programming on TV with WWE, so I don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately, but I'm happy where I am. I look back and I know I left the WWE in 2006 and came back in 2017. I don't regret that because I had a great career in TNA, but a small part of me says I wish I would have stayed. I can't imagine what my career would have been like if I would have continued on for another 11 years on the WWE. So, I'm just happy to be where I am right now. And that's interesting because Kurt Angle and AEW, it's a really, really tricky situation if you're AEW because Kurt Angle can't be wrestling like he was before. This is not going to be Kurt Angle and Sting jumping off the crowd stuff and, doing all this stuff and having all these big spots and all these big moments. But really what this comes down to is Kurt Angle could have been a manager for somebody. There's a lot of people that could have benefited from having a manager. I've always actually said that AEW has done a really good job of utilizing older legends, guys, coming in as legendary names, but using that to benefit other talent. And I think we've seen in most circumstances, it's been pretty beneficial to be involved with the top guy. I think Darby and Sting obviously has become a really, really big proponent, even though I think maybe a little bit there's less momentum. But right now, for the most part, it does make sense to be a legendary guy going into the company and helping other talent. And that's where Kurt Angle probably would have been in the company. I don't know if AEW would have ever done the general manager type thing. Obviously, they have Tony Khan as a commissioner who is kind of on there doing some stuff. But nonetheless, it's interesting because Kurt Angle obviously won't go to AEW. And this will always be one of those things of like, well, what would have happened if Kurt Angle went to AEW? Keep in mind, Kurt Angle's last match in WWE was not fun whatsoever. So just keep that in mind. He took on a very, 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 very stupid storyline to retire. That was a Vince McMahon situation. That was a Vince McMahon mistake. But this guy still pledges his loyalty to the company. Obviously, Triple H is in charge now. We'll see kind of what happens there. I know we're seeing JBL on TV with Baron Corbin. Just saying maybe Kurt Angle and somebody else might not be a bad idea. Just get him on TV. He doesn't have to wrestle. He doesn't have to do anything. But nonetheless, he says no to AEW. Very interesting stuff. Let me know what you guys think down below. If you guys want more videos like this, click that subscribe button so you don't miss any more videos.